Hello guys, welcome. This is Deepika from mytutorialrack.com and I'm bringing to you another interview question. So the question is it mandatory for a catch block to be followed after a try block? So the answer is no, it is not mandatory to have a try block along with the catch block. You can have a try either with the catch, or you can have try with a finally, or you can have a try with try, catch and finally. So all of these three are correct syntax wise. Okay, so the answer here is no. It is not necessary for a catch block to be present after a try block. A try block should be followed either by a catch block or by a finally block. Okay, so it can either have a catch block or it can either have a finally block. If the exception's likelihood, if the potential of exception is more, then they should always have the method declared with something saying as the keyword throws this particular type of exception. Okay, so now what are the ways we can have a try block? A try block can have with a catch block. Okay, one catch block. This is one option that you have. This is option number one. The second option is a try block can have multiple catch block. This is also possible. You can have one catch block, then you can have another catch block to handle a different type of exception, etc. So you can have try with multiple catch blocks. The third thing is you can have a try with a catch block. Okay, and also it can have a finally block. That is also allowed. Finally block can be there. And the fourth option is a try can only have a finally block. Okay, now in this case exception will be thrown because there is no catch block to handle it, but syntax wise this is also correct. Now let's go ahead and do an example where I'm illustrating how this try catch finally works. So let's go over to our Eclipse here, and over here I have created a class called try catch example. This is the name of the class, and we have a main method here, and inside of the main method I am declaring an array of integers. So it has 4 values here. So this is my integer array, this is the one, and we have indexing starts from 0, then 1 and 2 and then 3. There is starts always the indexing of the array starts from 0. So at the 0th location you have 1, then you have 2, then you have 3, and then you have 4, and this is your array of integer. Okay, this is your array of integer, and then you have a simple system.out.println, and it will tell you that you are inside a try block, and then this is where your for loop is. Now do you see an issue with this for loop? Yes, you're saying I is equals to 0, I less than equals to 4. But if you remember, the maximum value, the indexing is only at 3. So you're trying to access an index which is not available. So this is going to give you an exception. And what type of exception it is going to throw? It is going to throw array index out of bound exception. But good news is you have a catch block to handle it. So what will happen is this block, this particular line will get executed, and then you have value of array will get executed, and at the first time it will say 1, then value of array is going to be 2, then value of array is going to be 3, and then value of array is going to be 4, and then here it's going to have inside try block. That is going to be the first statement. But when it is trying to access array of 4, that's where an exception will be thrown, and this is the catch block. So this line is going to get printed, exception caught in the catch block. Okay, and then you will have the finally executed. So if you see here, you have a finally block, and all it is saying is I am inside the finally block. So this is going to get executed. I am inside the finally, and then what will happen is, since you have already handled the exception, you can proceed with the rest of the program, and it will say outside the try catch. Now this is going to be the output of this particular program. So if I go ahead and do run as Java application, see if our program outputs matches. Correct. So we said we're going to have the first statement is going to be inside try block, then it is going to print the value of array 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then when it is trying to get that index of array at 4, that's where the exception is thrown. But that's when your catch block is going to get executed execute and it's going to say I'm inside exception caught in the catch block, and then you finally will run, because finally runs no matter if exception occurs or doesn't occurs, it always runs. And then after the finally, you're outside of the try catch and you can resume your program from there. Now if you have commented this particular piece of code, which is fine, okay, the syntax wise there is no issue with it, I don't see any errors coming up or compilation errors are not there, you can have a try block with just a finally block. But now in this case the exception is not handled because there is no catch block. Okay, finally is not handling your exception. Finally will execute exception occurs or doesn't occur. So what will happen is everything will be the same. Now this line is not going to get executed. The reason being exception has been thrown and you have not handled that particular exception, and that is why the JVM is going to handle it, because now your JVM will say exception thrown and it will abrupt the program, and this particular line outside of try will not get executed and an exception message will be thrown on the screen because you have commented your catch block. There is no way that your exception is being handled, and exception will occur at this equals to 4. What is going to be the output of this? So the output is going to be the same. We are going to have inside this will get printed, then your value of array will get printed from 1, 2 and 3 and 4, an exception will be occurred and it will say I'm inside the finally block, and then once this finally blocks run, that's when your exception will be thrown by the JVM or the main method. You can say exception thrown and nothing will get printed after that. Okay, now this is my assumption. Let's say if our assumption is correct. So run as Java application, and yes, we are right. You can see here after finally block an exception has been thrown, index out of bound exception, and this line did not get printed on the screen because your program got terminated because you have an exception. In order to fix it, you are going to say I less than 4. Now in this case, no exception will be thrown. You don't need a catch block, and finally will run no matter what, and then this line will run and there is no exception thrown in this case. So everything will be very smooth. Okay, so you have inside try block, then you have values of array getting printed, then you'll have the finally block, and then you are inside the outside try catch clause. Okay, because in this case there is no code which can cause an exception. So I hope this whole exceptions topic is crystal clear, and I'm going to see you in the next video with another interview question. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye bye. Take care.